As the Medicare debate takes center stage on the campaign trail, new questions over what effect the issue will have on voters, and especially seniors in Florida. It is a critical swing state with 29 electoral votes. According to the latest Rasmussen poll, 48% of Florida voters over age 65 say they fear President Obama's health care law. 41% of Florida seniors say they're more concerned about Congressman Ryan's Medicare plan. Joining us now for a fair and balanced debate, we have Josh Block, a former spokesman for the Clinton-Gore and Gore-Lieberman presidential campaigns, and Justin Sayfie, a spokesperson for former Florida Governor Jeb Bush. Thank you both for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Josh Block, let's start with you. President Obama says that the Ryan plan would, quote, end Medicare as we know it. In reality, while it does introduce a voucher option, you would still have the choice to keep the government plan. The idea is just to introduce competition and lower prices. What's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, I think it takes away the guarantee that the government has provided that when you retire, you're going to have a Medicare program to rely on. How it turns out, how the funding works, there are a lot of mysteries there. And I think when you begin to privatize a program like that, you're playing games with something that people have relied on. I think it's also true that Democrats need to come up with a plan that deals with the financial solvency of the program. So scare tactics may be enough in Florida. We're going to have to see. But I also think Democrats are going to have to do better than that if they want to compete in the area of ideas about how to save these entitlement programs.
Justin, entitlement reform is a dangerous issue for politicians on both sides, especially in Florida. We just saw that latest Rasmussen poll. It said among likely Florida voters, 48% more afraid of President Obama's health care law, 41% more frightened by Congressman Ryan's Medicare plan. Is this a winning issue for Republicans?
I think it's a great winning issue for Republicans. I'm excited about the debate, and I'm sitting here in South Florida. We saw in 2010 when senior voters went to the polls, they voted overwhelmingly in favor of the GOP, and one of the reasons for that was they became aware, and they are aware today, that Obamacare pulled $700 billion out of the Medicare program. So for the GOP, it's a winning issue because we want to protect the plan for anyone 55 and older, and we also have a plan to make sure that Medicare is there for people who are 55 and under. On the other hand, the president and Democrats have no plan for Medicare when it goes bankrupt in 12 years, and yet we also have the president pulling $700 billion, with a B, out of current beneficiaries right now, the program right now. So it's a winning issue for Republicans, and I think the selection of Paul Ryan is going to be seen as a game-changing event in this presidential election.
Josh, let's respond to some of those points that Justin just made. The Ryan plan not affecting anyone over age 55 right now, and also Republicans hammering that point of President Obama taking $700 billion out of Medicare to pay for his health care plan. He says that is savings. It's eliminating waste. It's not cuts. What say you?
Well, I think that this charge from the Republicans that the president is gutting Medicaid is nonsense. But I also agree with Justin to the extent that, you know, the Republicans are out there with a plan, and they're very forward and aggressive in saying we're going to fulfill the promises that we've made to the generation retiring now, and we're going to try to reform the program so it's around for people like me and Justin and others. And I think the Democrat Party needs to find a way to articulate a vision where we're going to, provide the financial solvency for the program. And then it has to be done in a broader context. I'd like to see Democrats talking about things like Bowles-Simpson and trying to find structural debt reform that deals with both the defense spending, responsible defense cuts, and also entitlement reform so that we can get small business going and kind of lift the burden. I also think the idea that Republicans are against the Obamacare program, which basically tells freeloaders stop going to the hospital and making other people pay for your health care while unleashing the potential of small business that's been strangled by rising health care costs, seems backward to me. Right, but this is going to be an important debate, and Florida's a microcosm of it.
Yeah, definitely an important debate. Justin, President Obama said again today that the Ryan plan makes seniors pay more so that they can give tax cuts to millionaires and billionaires. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think that one thing President Obama left out was that it protects seniors who are 55 and older. And I wish that he would put that into his speech, and I wish a member of the press would ask him why he uses that rhetoric when he knows it's not true for people who are 55 and older. And, you got to hand it to President Obama. He is just running a divide and conquer campaign. He's pitting one group of Americans against another group of Americans, people who he calls millionaires and billionaires against other Americans. This is not the Barack Obama that we saw in 2008, who wanted to be a uniter and not a divider. And I'm very sad to see that the president is resorting to divide and conquer tactics.
Josh,
we should all be in this together.
What about this class warfare charge?
Well, I think I don't think that's a fair argument to make. Paul Ryan's overall budget plan didn't apply the savings that it found from these programs to strengthen them for the middle class. It gave them as tax breaks to rich people, and that's what the charge that the Obama administration is rightly making. I don't think it's a question of class warfare. I think it's a question of needing to come out and articulate what the choice is. And the choice is between a couple of folks who are very wealthy and have in mind tax cuts to enrich people who are already rich and have a trickle-down economics point of view, and the Democratic Party, which says let's invest in jobs, let's invest in the middle class, and try to build prosperity for everyone. And that's really the choice that faces people in the election that's coming up.
All right, a lot more to say on that. We're going to have to leave it there. Josh Block, Justin Sayfie, thank you both so much for joining us.
Pleasure.